Hey everybody, I'm John. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey John.
Y'all bear with me. Like I said, I haven't told my story, but once before at the colony, so I'm a little nervous. I'm trying to keep everything related to alcoholism. Drugs are part of my story, so I will bring them up from time to time. So I'm here to tell you tonight what it was like, what happened, and what it is like now. So I have a sponsor. He has a sponsor, and I also sponsor a few men in this program too. I was told in the beginning, if you can't keep it unless you give it away. You know what I mean? So like it's not a selfish program. So like I try to do that all the time. I try not to be selfish because I was a very selfish individual throughout my alcoholism and my addiction. So yeah, this program's done a lot for me. My sobriety date is March 9th, 2020. I was born and raised not far from here, Sanford, North Carolina. I had a decent childhood. My mother and father separated when I was 5 years old. I don't remember much about my mom and dad being together, but growing up, they had a great relationship with each other when it came to me. There wasn't a lot of arguing and fighting between who was going to see who, so I spent most of my time with my father. He had custody of me, and spent the weekends with my mom and some holidays. But I went to school here in Lee County. Did pretty good in school. Didn't really struggle a lot, but at a young age, I was real shy. I had friends. I played sports, but those were my buddies I played sports with. I connected with them, and usually that's the only people I hung around. But when it came to doing social events like this now, I would not have been able to do this any other time. But I kind of stuck to myself throughout school and had a few people here and there I hung out with. Middle school was good. Played sports, played a lot of baseball. Came up through middle school, had decent grades. High school was when my life started changing a little bit. Once I got into high school, I started venturing out to other people. I had a cousin that was older than me that I would ride to school with, and he smoked marijuana. So I was like, all right, I'll try that, And once I tried that, it kind of opened me up to my social life with other people, and then that led me into drinking. So the first time I drank alcohol, I was in the 10th grade. A couple buddies of mine that I played baseball with, we'd always go over at his house and hang out on the weekends and stuff. So his dad and his mom, they partied a lot, drinking, having a good time at their house. Nothing crazy. So it kind of seemed normal to me. And let me go back a little bit. So growing up with back and forth with mom and dad. My dad didn't drink. He never drank. I never seen him drink, never seen him do any drugs. He wasn't around much because he worked all the time. My grandmother watched me a lot, so I didn't really see him that much. But my mother, my stepfather now today, they had more of a party life, On the weekends, I would go stay with them. They'd have their friends over, have cookouts. There would be people drinking, and on holidays, they would have parties, and all the kids would be together in the house playing while the adults were out partying and drinking. So this is actually the first time I tried alcohol was when I was probably 12 years old. I forgot about that. They had these little drinks, puckers, and we would go sneak them. We would go steal them out of the kitchen while all the adults were in there having a good time, and they didn't know what we were doing. But yeah, so that happened, and then so we'll move back forward to when I was in high school, the first time I actually felt the effects of alcohol. So I was hanging out at my buddy's house, and his father, we ended up talking him into buying us a few beers. And he's like, that's fine, you guys, we'll buy you some beers. You guys hang out here, you can't go anywhere. So, all right. And that night, we had a blast, man. Caught my first buzz, cutting up with my buddies, having a good time. And it was fun, So from then on, that's what we did on the weekends. There was some other things involved, but nothing heavy then, but mostly drinking. And it was probably about, I think it was my 11th grade year, I got introduced to some prescription medication. So a buddy of mine, he was prescribed a certain prescription, and he would give me some. And that right there clicked with me. It opened me up even more. Like, I was able to hang out and not be nervous around people, talk to the girls without being nervous and stuttering. But again, it wasn't really a problem then. I would go to school, I still got good grades. But then on the weekends, that's what I was doing. I was hanging out and partying with my buddies. And that lasted throughout the rest of my senior year up until I graduated. So when I graduated high school, my mother, I had moved in with my mother when I turned 15 years old, and started living with her. I had stepbrothers and stepsisters there that we became really close. They're considered my real brothers and sisters now. But like, I was more gravitated towards living with my mother at that age. So me and my dad had a falling out when I was about 15 years old, and I ended up moving in with her. And so fast forward a little bit more, I get up to graduate high school, and Mom's like, you need to grow up. We're gonna find you a school. I'll help you get into college, whatever you want to do. So I decided to go to Universal Technical Institution in Mooresville for auto mechanics. And she did. She helped me get all the paperwork done, get grants and loans and everything. And ended up, the summer I graduated, I lived down at the beach for about 3 months. I ended up meeting a girl down there, and she lived close to Mooresville, and we decided we were going to, hook up and stay together. And her parents were like, they love me, so they're like, we have a place out here you can stay while you're going to school. So I did that. Moved down there with her and her folks, and started college down there for automotives. Weekend partying, having a good time, drinking. I never got to a point where I was like a blackout drinker. I would always get to a limit where I felt good and I was sociable. But then once I moved to Salisbury, she had some friends there that were involved in some other things, and I got introduced to cocaine. Started doing cocaine down there, and that was like the perfect mixture for me, alcohol and that. So that took off, and I thought I was like, I actually never knew anything about having an addiction then, So, like, I would always have these cravings during the week. I'd be at school, and then I'd get out of school and go to work, and I'd be, like, ready to get off of work because I'm ready to go home and drink and do some drugs. So, and that's all I thought about, you know what I mean? But, like, I never wondered what that was about. I thought that was just me wanting to have a good time, So I didn't finish school there. I stayed there for a year and a half. They had it set up where you have a set of core classes that you have to go through, and then you can take these 2 electives. I finished the core classes after a little over a year, and I went into it was called Ford Fact Special Training for Ford, specializing in Ford. And during that time, me and her, our partying had gotten to a point where like that's all we did during the week. On the weekends, me and her were arguing and fighting all the time about things. And we were at a party one weekend, and I don't remember. I was also taking some other prescriptions where you don't remember a lot after you take them, So I don't remember what happened, but we supposedly got in an argument. We fought, and I left that night and went to the house, packed everything up, got the dog, and came back to Sanford. The part I start to remember is when I was on the way home to Sanford, and then I was being filled in by my friends the rest of the story. But so yeah, that happened. We had a falling out, and I ended up leaving and moving back to Sanford, quitting school. So I got back home. Mom, she let me move back in with her, and at this time, my youngest stepsister, she was a senior in high school too, so she was kind of in that partying life too. And my other stepsister, she was a bartender at one of the bars in town. So when I got back home, I was like all upset, poor me. So I just wanted to go hang out and party with my friends all the time, and that's what I did. I got like a little part-time job to make enough money to support what I did. Mom, she really didn't. She wasn't very hard on me, but I knew she wanted me to do better. But I felt like as long as I respected her home and did what she asked, everything would be okay. And eventually that wasn't the case. So it's I did that for about a year and a half, just working little odds and end jobs and going out and partying all the time. And that's when my use of other substances became heavier. Always still drinking all the time, but like functioning, like not getting to a point where I didn't remember anything. But my sister, she introduced me to opiates a little while after I moved back home, and then it's like once I found that type of drug mixed with alcohol, that was even better. So that right there, that took off, and that's when I started feeling the effects of the withdrawals and things like that after so long. It probably lasted about a year and a half, so I started really noticing, like, I need this, I had my father's mother, my grandmother, she was prescribed medication, and I would actually manipulate and use her a lot to get what I wanted, when I wanted, and her being my sweet little grandma, she okay, here you go, sweetie. But it turned into me stealing from her, stealing from my family, hurting loved ones, and then just kind of like pushing everybody that meant the most to me away. After a while, my family and my friends were like, maybe something's going on. You need to, I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. I thought I was just having a good time like everybody else. And I'm like, I need to grow up. I need to get a job, do my own thing, get my own place again. So, let's see. I'm trying to think about. I was like, all right, I need to take care of myself. So, I never had a problem getting a decent job. I still had a certificate for the basic automotives from UTI, so I was pretty much able to get a job at any shop that I went to. They usually hired me on the spot, and that's what I did. I went to a few of the dealerships in town. I got another job as a technician, and I straightened up for a little bit. I kind of cut out some of the harder drugs, but I was still drinking. Life got a little bit better. Started making some decent money. Ended up moving out for a little bit, and same thing. It was me, a buddy, and I can't remember who else. There was three of us. We ended up getting a place together, and that probably lasted a good year or two. Me being semi-responsible. And then I fell right back into that hole again, where my life is starting to become unmanageable again, and I never did understand why it kept happening like that. I thought it was just I was doing something wrong. I didn't have the right formula of life or something. Like I couldn't figure this shit out. But so I ended up losing that job due to just being late, not performing well at work, and getting fired there. And then I knew a lot of people like in construction and things like that, and like they did a lot of trade work. So if you know a lot of trade work, most of the time there's usually some drug activity going on a lot of the job sites and stuff. So I ended up getting a job doing like sprinkler work, fire sprinkler systems for a guy, and that's what it was. We all rode around together, drank together, and worked together. That's all we did. And I thought that was it. I was able to make some money and do what I wanted to do. But I don't remember what year it was. I ended up meeting a young lady, and we hit it off pretty good. And like she's she had her life together. She's not one of us. You know what I mean? So as I'm dating her, we decide we're gonna, maybe try to start a family together, move in together, and which we did. We moved in together. So while we're together, I'm still trying to do my thing and drink. She didn't mind if I drank, but the other things that I did, she didn't want me doing, so I was trying to hide them all the time. So I thought I was doing good at hiding my use of drugs for a while, but she ended up catching me a few times, and it always caused a lot of problems in our relationship. And I would always manipulate to the point to where, like, yes, I'm going to do better, and I would straighten up for a little bit, a few months here and there, and just long enough to get her happy again, and then I get caught again. And you guys know the story, how that goes. But we ended up having a baby together. It's my son Landon. He's 8 years old now. We had a kid together, and before she had Landon, like, I told myself, I really need to straighten my life out. I need to get right, be an adult, be a man, and do right. And so that's the first time I decided to seek some help. Someone told me about a place in Charlotte, which I thought was a rehab, but it's a detox facility. I can't remember the name of the place, but anyway, it's like a 2-week place. You go up there and detox, and then you can either go home or go to like a program. So I get up there before Landon's born, and no, actually this was the week after he was born, and detox off of opiates and alcohol and some other things. So I go through that, and when I get home, like, all I'm worried about is, like, I'm a father. I don't know what to do. Like, I have a brand new baby at home I need to take care of. So it kind of put me in shock to where, like, yeah, I need to straighten up. I don't need to be getting high all the time. I don't need to be drinking and partying. So I came home with all the intention of doing right, picking my job back up. And luckily, at this time, I had gotten a job with her uncle that owned a business doing security systems. And they were great people. Like, I was able to talk to them before, like, I actually was responsible enough to let them know I had a problem. And they gave me the time to leave and try to take care of myself. Which, so after I came back, they gave me my job back. And things went good for a little bit. It was probably about 5 or 6 months after I got home. I was still drinking from time to time, nothing real crazy, but like I would always just be wanting more and more of something. Like, I just didn't feel right, And I'm like, why do I still feel this way? I have a son. Like, I thought having a son, that would have changed me, So I slipped right back into starting to sneak with my friends here and there, getting what I wanted, doing what I wanted. And eventually, same thing happened, slipped right back into getting caught. We had a big falling out, and we ended up splitting up. And again, once we split up, Mom let me come back and stay with her. I was doing the poor me, self-pity thing. So I moved back in with her for a little bit, and like that, it keeps going downhill from there. I can keep saying this story over and over again with how my life I would go up, come down, go up, come down. We'll fast forward a little bit, trying to get to the good parts, and I don't know how many years I spent just battling with alcoholism and addiction, trying to do right, trying to be a man, trying to be a father, up to the point where I started using intravenously. Once I started doing that, I shut everyone out, my family, my friends. I thought I was helping by pushing, my relationship with my son further away, because I was like, I don't want to be around my son high and drunk all the time, you know what I mean? So I was like, figure I'll just wait till there's a good time when I'm going pretty easy and I can just see my son here and there, and that was not the case. Like, that's not the way to be. Started getting involved in some things where the law was getting involved, and started doing some criminal activities with friends, well, not friends of mine, but other people. But ended up getting caught up in a few things, started going in and out of county jails. So my face was starting to get known in the system. And I get locked up a couple months, get in there, dry up a little bit, all intentions to get out and do right again, and fall right back down, get locked up again. Up until the point where I was caught with a few things to where I was sentenced some prison time. And it's like this time when it got to a point to where like my spirit and just my attitude, like my soul, I just felt drained. I felt dead. Like I didn't care about anything anymore. I didn't care about anybody. And the last time I got locked up, like I knew it. Like I felt it. Like I was like, this is it, man. Like I can't do this anymore. You know, like I knew from the charges I had in the past that I had that I was going to go to prison this time. Which I did. I got a sentence for, I got a 12-month sentence. And like, the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, like, I feel lost, you know, like I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix my life. I don't know where to go from there. And I had a friend of mine that had went through the colony probably about 4 or 5 years before this happened. And we grew up together, going to school together and partied a lot together. And he was doing good in life, you know. He was still close friends with my family, my mom and my sister and all. So somehow, it's like God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. While I was locked up in county before I went to prison, my sister, she had joined the Navy, and she had come back from a deployment, and he came to the house to visit her. And my mom was around. They were all talking, and he got to talking about going to the colony and getting help, going to treatment. And so on one of the phone calls to my mom, she was telling me about it, and I'm like, at first I was like, you know, I tried to do this rehab thing, which was only a detox. I knew nothing about recovery. And at first I was reluctant to do it. And like I say, I look at it like going to prison was a blessing for me because it gave me time. It slowed me down enough to where I could think about my life and where I could have some positive influence from other people and listen to that advice. You know what I mean? Like before, when I was out there, like I didn't want to hear anything anybody had to say. I thought I could fix it. I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I could take care of myself, which obviously I couldn't. So go through county for a few months, ended up going into prison, and once I got to prison, I got locked up during COVID, so like the prison system then was locked down where you couldn't go out, you couldn't go out and do any jobs, so you had a lot of free time on your hands. And living in that atmosphere, it's a lot different. Like you kind of like you have to stick with a certain group of people, you know what I mean, keep yourself. It's a different world, but so it gave me a lot of time to think, and I started building back a relationship over the phone with my son, talking to him, and that pain I felt not being able to see him. Like when I was out there drinking and partying, like I didn't feel that pain because I thought I was doing him a favor by not being around him, but being locked up and not being able to see him on my own time. That's when it really hit me, you know, that suffering I felt like talking to him on the phone and him asking me, like, when am I coming home? But yeah, sorry. Yeah, that was tough for me. So, let's see. I mean, like now, it's just like going through that pain is kind of that motivation and that push it gave me to change my life and to do something right with my life. So I started, asking the right questions I can say now. Like, you know, who do I need to talk to? What do I need to do? And like I gained this motivation from somewhere, I don't know where, but I do know now it's from the God of my understanding that pushed me towards to seek help. because like I had burnt so many bridges, like my family, my mom and dad, they're like, when you get out, you're not coming here. So pretty much I had nowhere to go, nowhere to stay. So a few months before my release date, I get the information I need to call Mark Christopher to go to the colony. So I would try to give him a call, once a week, and it was like every time I call, I would never get an answer, and it's like, we can't call you back. But so I was starting to get a little frustrated. I tell my mom, I'm like, look, I'm trying to get up with him, and she had spoke to him a few times. So coming up on my release date, I go to talk to him about what I need to do after my release date, how I need to handle this going to this treatment center. And she's like, look, we've got some pending charges that have been brought up on you. So when you get out, you're going to have to go turn yourself back in. So that put a big damper on the plans, and it got me frustrated. But then, like, I had got to a point where I was like, I let go of everything. I accepted that, okay, I need to take care of this. I need to get this out of the way. I'm tired of dealing with these things in my life. I want to do good. And so that's what I did. I turned myself back into county when I got out of prison, and ended up that situation happening, I see now, like, that was God doing for me, because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have been able to get into the colony at that time. When I went back to county, I was able to communicate better with the colony and with my lawyer, and they ended up releasing me after 2 months on pre-trial to go to the colony, and it worked out to where like I was able to get picked up and go straight to the colony. So the colony is where that's where it all started for me. Like I was kind of like lost up until that point. I didn't know what to do, where to go, but I just knew I had to do something. I remember showing up there and Mark coming out and asking me, are you willing to do anything for victory over alcohol? And I'm like, yes, you know what I mean? Yes, I do not want to go back to prison. I'm tired of going to jail. So I did. Like I went in there and like gave it my all. Like one of the first things that was told to me when I got there was, come in and keep an open heart and an open mind to any and all suggestions you hear. And so I did. It's pretty cool. I get in there and end up being roommates with an old friend of mine, and that was a blessing in itself, because like still up until this day, like I'm still a little shy, a little nervous going into situations, and him being there kind of like eased that. Like it's like I had a friend there, like you know what I mean. Like I was able to relate with someone. I knew someone, and like we kind of took off from there. You know what I mean. We partnered up on doing some things at the colony. We got into it, and like I said, I did what I was told, the suggestions there, and that place is a blessing. Like really, it is. I know there's a lot of guys that have been through there. But something happened there to me. It changed my life. Went through the first few steps there at the colony. Got to my fifth step, and up until the point I was to my fifth step, I was just going through the motions with it, like doing as I was told. Didn't really feel any different, but I knew this was what needed to be done. I had heard a few stories when I had first got there. And like seeing these men up there talking about, they're telling their stories, what they've been through, like I could relate to them so much. And I'm like, wow, these guys are, they're doing the deal. They're happy. They're living life. They're responsible. And that gave me the push and the motivation to continue with the program. And up to my fifth step, that's when I really felt something. My sponsor, the guy that's my sponsor today, was the guy that came to the colony and did my fifth step with me. And talking about those things and getting those things off my chest, there was such a weight and like relief and a weight lifted off of me. Like I felt like, and I did. I had a spiritual awakening after that. Like I understood what a spiritual awakening was, and it's like ever since that day, like I've had that fire of that spiritual awakening. I went to church growing up. I've known who God is, but I never had a relationship. And it wasn't that I didn't want a relationship with Him. It's what I didn't know how to have a relationship with Him. I had a lot of questions while I was at the colony about prayer too. Not saying there's a wrong way to pray, but how to pray unselfishly, and learning how to pray unselfishly really changed the game for me. Doing for others, helping another man out in this program. Like, it doesn't seem like it's going to help you, but like after going through something with another man, just talking to another man about something, like they're dealing with something, just having that conversation with them, and then leaving that conversation with them, and you feel better. You know what I mean? Because I don't know how that works, but it works. So I end up going, after I get done go through the 28 days at the colony. Like, I talked to Mark, and I'm like, he's like, well, what are your plans? And I was like, I'm going to be honest, Mark, I don't have any plans. I have nowhere to go. And they gave me the opportunity to go to a halfway house. And again, my buddy that had went through the colony before, he did the same thing. And that gave me, a little a push to do it, because I seen what it did for his life. And I'd heard some of the guys' story while I was at the colony that they had went through there and went through the halfway house. And like I said, it was a blessing to go to that halfway house, because being in that environment, I don't think, like, if I would have got out and left and went home, it may have not worked. I don't know. Who's to say? But I know it did work. Like, I went through the halfway house, and having that group of guys there, we all got really close. Like, I have a group of guys in here that, like, I call my brothers. You know what I mean? They're closer to me than most of my family members. And I work with a group of guys that are all in recovery. And that's a blessing also, because not only, like, if I'm at work, and I have something going on, I can just look over here to a guy I'm working with, like, hey, look, this is what I'm dealing with. You know what I mean? And they understand, and we can talk about it. So it's God's done for me a lot of things. He's put a lot of people in my life to help me through, what I'm going through. I enjoy it. I spent about, I think it was 13 months. I was at the Arby's house for about 13 months, and I ended up moving out. Met a young lady. She's now my fiance. And she's also in the program. And it's like, without this program, I don't think our relationship would be what it is today, because of what I've learned through this program. How to build relationships, how to have relationships with anybody. Life's great now. Like, this is my life. Like, you guys are my family. Like, everybody in here I consider my family. Like, and that's what I was looking for that growing up too. Like, so I had a large family growing up, and we always had big family events, and it was probably, I was probably in my 20s when my family kind of like, things just started happening, and we didn't really have group like gatherings and cookouts anymore. And I realized today that, like, I missed that a lot. You know what I mean? So, like, when I was out there drinking and doing drugs all the time, I was looking for that. You know what I mean? I enjoyed the attention. I enjoyed the people around me. But, like, coming in here, meeting everyone here, getting to know everyone here, it's became my family. You know what I mean? Like, I love coming to these meetings. I love talking with guys in this program. I love doing service work for others. Like I said, yeah, it's having a family again. You guys are my family. And with that, that's pretty much all I got. Thank you guys.